All right, so name the variable. We're just going to call it n. Okay, so that's the beginning. Now we're going to look for those keywords. And the first keyword you come to is the word sum. And we all know sum means to, so I'm just going to put a plus sign right in there. And doesn't it tell us what the sum? We want to sum the number. And what is our number? No, what's our number? The number is n. And it's n plus the 8 that we're summing. So we just translated that phrase into math. Doing translation work. Right? Dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dot, dot. Can anybody translate? Dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dot, dot. Edward? Yes, save our ship. All right, so that's SOS. What kind of code is that? Morse code, right? That's the only Morse code I know. Dot, 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 dash, 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 dot, dot, dot. All right. Back in the old days, anybody on a telegraph, they used, I believe, Morse code on the telegraph. And that's what the operator had to change into, translate into English. We're translating words into algebra in the math. We're going to get there. Cool. We will get there in this course. We'll deal with binary. We'll deal with base 5 and some other bases. So, and binary is neat because it's the language of computers. All right, let's do the second one. 6 more than twice a number. All right, so again, pretty simplistic. The number. Who wants to name our variable for us? Who wants to name our variable? All right, Brendan. No, you gotta use a variable. N. All right, he's consistent guy. We'll stick with N. N worked the first time. We'll use N again. Kind of boring, but it works. It's consistent. Okay, and so now you're just looking at. There's a couple keywords in this one. The first keyword you get to is more than. The problem says 6 more than. What operation is a more than? Allison? It is an addition. We have a second operational word, though. Twice a number. It says twice. What do you do for twice? Somebody raise their hand. What do you do for twice? Luke? And by what? What do you multiply to get twice? Yes. So, but what do you multiply it by? That's what I'm getting. How do you get twice something? If you had $7, twice $7 is, what did you do in your head to get 14? By what? That's what I was after you saying. Yes. Twice means to multiply by 2, right? And now the rest is just filling in. Twice what? Twice the number. Again, what is the number? It's n. So that's a 2n. And 6 more, you add 6 to whatever you get. 6 more than twice the number. Now, by the way, let me throw a little or here. You might want to do it this way. 6 plus 2 times n. Is that okay? 2n plus 6 or 6 plus 2n, are those the same technically? How do you know? Yes, Daniel? Commutative property, right? We're just changing the order, and we can change the order. So you can say it either way. 6 plus 2n or 2n plus 6. Your final answer, though, really should not have the raised dot in it. There's no need for it. So you should write a final answer without the raised dot. Okay. Luke. You should have this on your homework, yes. You should have NTV and underneath naming your variable. You're going to write your word problem out. and you're going to do the exact same thing we're doing here. You're going to, if you're smart, you can do some circles and stuff. You don't have to use color on your homework. You can if you want. All right, the product of 8 and a number. So again, all these are kind of boring on the number. We'll get to the better ones later. So who wants to name the variable? Allison? O. All right, O is a rough variable. What we'll use it? Be careful with O. Why is O kind of rough to use, Chloe? Yeah, because you might think it's a 0, but we'll use it. Just be careful with the O's. All right, so are you an O's fan? I was just wondering. All right, the Orioles. All right, so anyhow, you're looking and you take a look. The first keyword you come to is the word product. And class, the word product tells you to do what? Multiply. So I'm producting something. And that's really the whole thing on this one, right? It's the product of what things, and it tells us 8 is 8. And a number is O. Notice I'm going to make it nice and small so it doesn't look like an 80. And again, you shouldn't have a raised dot in your final answer. So 8O. Which looks just like 80. Which is why O's, and you should not use as a variable. But you could. You could. You could. You could. Let's do another one. All right, so let's suppose you're going to do D. You're going to say the number. Somebody give me a variable to use. Ashley? E. All right, we'll use E. E's an okay variable. Okay, so I want you guys to write this one. Go ahead and do 7 less than a number. 7 less than a number. Translate that sentence into math. And use E as your variable. E is the number. 7 less than a number. What percent of people are going to get it right? 100%? 90%? 80%? 70%? 60%? How many think 100%? These are easy, right? Easy? All right. All right, so don't write anything yet. I'm just trying to get your thoughts here. Hopefully you got something written down for this, right? D is done. You got a D answer. So how many put 7 minus E? Let me see your hands. Okay. And you are all incorrect. Okay, if you had $10 and all of a sudden you had 7 less, how many dollars would you have? 3, right? We all know this. You had $7 and then you had 7 less. Are you telling me that that gives you $3? That's not 7 less, is it? That's 7 less. So you got to be careful with subtraction. Is subtraction commutative? No, it is not. And if you're going to get this correct, yes, I agree. You have less than, and less than is subtraction. But you have to get the order correct. 7 less is to do a minus 7. That's an E minus 7. Does that make sense after I explained it to you? Be careful. Look, I've done this for 30 years. For 30 years, students have been doing 7 minus E. So you're not any more abnormal. You're not abnormal. They've been doing it for years. Here's the problem. For 30 years, I've in class been telling students, obviously you haven't made that 7 less. The negative 7 has to go in the back, and guess what students have been doing for 30 years on the quiz and test? Not putting it in the back. So don't be one of them. Because, hey, there's no fault on you for making that mistake the first time. Students routinely do it. But I'll tell you, it would be a fault of yours if you do it again. Because you know now you're not supposed to. So be careful. Students mess that up all the time. Subtraction is not commutative, so the order matters. It's the only way you'll get 7. Hannah, question. It's as far as you can go, actually. That's all we know because we don't know what the number is. You know, if E is 20, then the answer is 13. But if E is 10, the answer is 3. If E is 100, the answer is 93. E could be negative. E could be negative 3, at which case the answer is negative 10. We really don't know. E could be a half, at which case the answer is negative 6 and a half. Ooh. So that's as far as we can go because we have a variable. Can't go any further. Okay, here's an interesting one. 9 more than the opposite of a number. All right, so we're still at the number. Let's go back to the ever popular n. So we'll name our variable n. Now, more than doesn't matter. Look, if all of a sudden you had $9 more in your pocket or in your purse than you had previously, it doesn't matter if you say 9 plus 0 or 0 plus 9. In any case, you get to 9. Now, if you happen to have big bucks on you, maybe you got 50 bucks on you. 9 plus 50 is 59, and 50 plus 9 is 59. Adding doesn't matter. But subtraction matters, so be careful. All right, 9 more. We know more than is a plus. I usually stick it in the back, but you can stick it anywhere you want. It should have been black there. It doesn't matter. Okay. This one's going to require a little thought, though. Somebody raise your hand and tell me how to say the opposite of a number. How do you say that? Chloe? So tell me what to write. So don't write anything yet. Chloe said negative n. Does anybody agree with her? Negative n. Okay, and you would be all the correct ones agreeing. Remember, the opposite of a number is minus whatever it is. So negative n is the way to say opposite the number. The number's n, so its opposite would be negative n, and that is correct. You might say, Mr. Scarvey, I wouldn't know to do that. Well, okay, that's why I showed it to you, all right? I showed it to you, so now you know. I wouldn't have known to put a negative in front. Fine, I just showed you so that now you know. Let's do the next one. Half of a number decreased by 3. So again, we've got the number. Let's use x just for the fun of it. Half of a number decreased by 3. So the first thing we deal with here is half of a number. So how would you say half of our number? Nia? That is the most popular way to say that. Take the number and divide it by 2. That is half the number. There is another way you could do it. You could also multiply the x by a half. Both of those are exactly the same. X divided by 2 is half the number. 1/2 x is half the number. Let's suppose x is 10 bucks. What's 1/2 times 10? 5. Isn't 5 half of 10? What's 10 divided by 2? 5. Isn't 5 half of 10? So whether you divide a number by 2 or multiply it by a half, both ways, or multiply it by a half or divide it by 2, it's the exact same thing. Either way is acceptable. Some students like it better to divide by 2, others like it better to have the half. Okay, the other part is decreased by. Decreased is what operation? Subtraction. And decreased by what? 3. So x over 2 minus 3, or 1/2 x minus 3. Either way is acceptable. Either one will work if you work it. Let me try to show you a few more possibilities. I'm trying to get as much out there for you as possible for when you get to do them yourself tonight. So again, NTV, the number. Oh, let's use the ever popular Q. I like Q for a variable. All right. You see the word quotient. Everybody thinks what? Division, right? You can do division 2 ways. You can use the division symbol, or, that's supposed to just be an or you can use a fraction bar. Two different ways. Now the order matters. What goes on the top, what goes on the bottom matters, what goes on the left and what goes on the right matters. The order will be as they give it to you. The order of a number, Q. So it would go on the left of the division symbol. It would go in the numerator of the fraction if you went that route. I'm showing you two different ways, right? It's the exact same thing, two different ways. The right-hand way, the fraction bar, is the more grown-up way to show it. The division symbol is the more elementary way to show it. So if you want to appear a little bit more grown up, you'll use the fraction bar. All right, and then number in 7, so Q divided by 7, or just as the right says, right, Q divided by 7. So either way on that one, again, right-hand way is the more advanced way of saying it. One more. Last one. All right, let's call the number n for this last one. You guys want to try it? Try the last one. Go ahead. See what you get. Try that last one. Did you find your notes, Emily? Okay. Oh, it's just a regular sheet. Okay, smart. Good. Then you can transfer them and you got notes. 7 less than 1/5 the number. And our number's n. Less than 1/5 a number. Seven less than 1/5 a number. Now look, if you sit there for 10 minutes staring at one problem tonight, your homework's going to take you forever. You got to get to the point where you just try something. Now, with the odds tonight, once you see the answer for these, you see the answer. So there's really no work on these except, we're looking at keywords. So once you see the answer, you are going to cross off your wrong answer. You are going to put the right answer down for an odd. The key is, though, stop for a moment and think why it is what the book said it was. So hopefully you'll get some of the even ones that are the same kind correct. You follow? But again, there's no real work on these, so there's no real way to change your work to get the correct answer. So you're going to put the correct answer down. That's okay. I know that. But if you're wise, you're going to take a moment and try to figure out why it is what the book said it was, so you'll learn from it. That's the key. That's why you do homework, to learn from it. Okay. So hopefully you looked at this and said less than, you used a minus sign, and I really hope you put the 7 in the back. How many had -7? All right, you learned your lesson from the one previous, I hope. So now what's left is 1/5 the number. Well, do you remember what 1/2 the number was? 1/2 was with a 2 on the bottom. 1/5 is simply with a 5 on the bottom. So n over 5 minus 7. Now you could have said it one other way. You could have gone 1/5 times n minus 7. Those are exactly the same. Two different ways of saying the same thing. How many had one or the two had one of those? At least one of those. Okay, good. And the rest of you, again, try to take a look and figure out what messed you up. What did you do wrong? Let me learn from that. Hey, 1/4 of a number, divide it by 4. 1/10 of a number, divide it by 10. Whoa, hold on a second. What would you do for 2/3 a number? Let's just think about that for a second here. How would you do, let's suppose our number is n. How do you do 2/3 a number? Omar? How many agree with Omar? 2n over 3. Exactly correct. That is 2/3 the number. By the way, that's the exact same thing as 2/3 times n. Again, those are exactly the same. 2n over 3 and 2/3 n are exactly the same thing. That's how you do 2/3 a number. You know, and so any fraction can be dealt with, all of that situation. Okay, be careful tonight. Some of these should go very, very quickly, but you do have to write those originals because you got to go off those originals to write your answer. So hang in there, write them in, do like we did today in class, use the keywords. You can use color if you want, but avoid red, okay? If you use color, use green and blue and black. Don't use red because we use red for grading.